anglers. Okay, we go after the big fish, chasing them monkey strong crackhead motherfuckers. Anyway, you know they'd have killed you without hesitating.
That's why they belong in prison.
For what? They got beat down. They lost their rock. They lost their money. The message from Hillside probably gonna smoke them. I mean, Jesus, what more you want?
I want justice.
Is that not justice?
That's street justice.
What's wrong with street justice?
Oh, just let the animals wipe themselves out.
God willing. Fuck them. Everybody who looks like them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The good guys, they die first, right? The school kids and moms, family men, they don't want to catch the stray bullets in the noodle. To protect the sheep, you got to catch the wolf. And it takes a wolf to catch a wolf. You understand?
What?
I said you protect the sheep by killing the motherfucking wolves. No, you didn't hear me. You listening, but you didn't hear me.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, whatever the fuck ever.
To protect the sheep, you got to catch the wolf. So this quote from Training Day is one of the most powerful and revealing lines spoken by Alonzo Harris, played by Denzel Washington, to Jake Hoyt, played by Ethan Hawke. Now, on the surface, it sounds like a simple justification for law enforcement. See, in order to protect innocent people, the sheep, from the predators, the wolf, someone must confront and neutralize these predators. But really beneath the surface, this line is loaded with moral ambiguity, psychological manipulation, and a deep commentary on power, violence, and the thin line between the protector and the predator. So when it comes to the sheep, in Alonzo's metaphor, sheep represent everyday civilians, people who follow the rules, they live their lives, and trust the system to keep them safe. See, they are the law-abiding and generally passive, and they don't have the means or willingness to fight back against predators, and they rely on institutions like the police to act on their behalf. And they represent innocence, naivete, or what Alonzo views as weakness. Now, from Alonzo's point of view, sheep are not meant to fight. They're meant to be protected. But implicit in this is his disdain for them. He doesn't admire the sheep. He views them as naive, soft, and powerless, creatures that must be ruled or saved by those stronger than them. And this also reflects the sheepdog versus the wolf mentality often used in certain policing and military circles. Civilians are sheep, criminals are wolves, and officers are sheepdogs who protect the flock. So the wolf in Alonzo's statement represents those who exploit harm or prey on society. Wolves are dangerous and cunning, often outside the law, willing to do what others won't to get what they want, and they're a threat to the stability of society. But really, in the world that Alonzo lives in, the wolf isn't just a criminal, it's a mentality. A wolf is someone who operates in the shadows, who uses fear, violence, and ruthlessness as tools. Alonzo respects the wolf because he understands it. He may fight wolves, but he also emulates them. And this is the key duality of his character. Now, on a literal level, Alonzo, what he's saying here is he's saying that police work is about going after bad guys to keep society safe. And Jake, being an idealistic rookie, wants to protect people. Alonzo frames his philosophy as pragmatic and righteous, that we're the good guys. We do bad things for good reasons, that you have to fight evil with evil. So this is how Alonzo justifies his corruption and brutality. He frames it as necessary. So he's telling Jake that if you want to do this job right, you can't be soft. You have to get your hands dirty. And really, this is where the quote itself, this is where it becomes philosophically brilliant and morally twisted. Because while he presents himself as the sheepdog, Alonzo behaves like a wolf. You see, he robs drug dealers for personal gain. He uses fear and violence to maintain control. He manipulates and corrupts others to protect himself. He bends the law not just to catch criminals, but to enrich and empower himself. So when he says to protect the sheep, you got to catch the wolf, and that it takes a wolf to catch a wolf, what he's really doing is that he's justifying his own wolf like behavior. He's blurring the line between law enforcement and criminality, telling Jake that you can't stay pure in this game, that to survive, you must become like the enemy. And this mirrors the classic themes in literature and philosophy, when a protector becomes indistinguishable from the predator that they hunt. And think of Heart of Darkness or Crime and Punishment, the descent of the good man into moral decay. Now, Alonzo uses this metaphor to manipulate Jake psychologically. So, by framing his corruption as necessary, he positions himself as a mentor. He pressures Jake to adopt his own worldview and also creating false dichotomy. Either you be a wolf or you get eaten. Now, Jake represents the idealistic black and white moral code of a young cop. Alonzo represents the cynical, power hungry realism of someone who's long abandoned those ideals. And this quote is a test for Jake to see if he will accept that moral compromise. And also, this line echoes several philosophical and ethical debates. So, one is Machiavellianism. Now, Niccolo Machiavelli argued in The Prince that rulers must sometimes commit immoral acts for the sake of maintaining power and order. And Alonzo, he embodies this, embodying that the ends justify the means. And then the Nietzschean will to power. Now, Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about transcending conventional morality. Alonzo sees himself above the law, an apex predator who defines morality by his own terms. And then the problem of evil. So, in fighting evil, how much evil are you allowed to commit? When does fighting darkness turn you into the darkness? And this is a classic gaze into the abyss scenario. And this moment is pivotal for Jake Hoyt. And it's not just a line, it's a fork in the road. And what that is will he accept Alonzo's worldview and become a wolf under the badge, or will he resist and try to remain a true sheepdog, despite the cost? And this is the essence of the movie's conflict. Not just good versus evil, but idealism versus moral corruption. So this quote also resonates beyond the film itself, because in discussions, of law enforcement culture, where a lot of officers may feel justified in bending the rules to achieve justice, and a lot of moral debates about counterterrorism, warfare, and vigilante justice, fighting evil with evil, and then in personal ethics, where people justify their questionable actions because they believe the cause is righteous. See, it forces the audience to confront uncomfortable truths. How much darkness is acceptable in the pursuit of safety? At what point does the protector become the oppressor? And throughout the film, Alonzo spends the time playing the wolf and sheepdog at the same time. But ultimately, the system and the streets, they treat him like the wolf he truly is. When his power collapses, he's no longer the protector, but the predator who must be put down. And this closes the metaphor that the sheepdog is supposed to protect the sheep from the wolves. But what happens when the sheepdog is the wolf? Because sooner or later, someone comes to catch him too. So, and also this quote, it also reflects that mentality of those who believe that strength comes from becoming what you fight. Alonzo uses it to justify cruelty, but Jake's projection of what mentality shows that true strength isn't in becoming the wolf, but it's in facing the wolf without losing your soul. And the line itself is not a justification of power, it's a warning that if you walk too long with the wolves, you might forget you were ever meant to protect the sheep. So, to protect the sheep, you gotta catch the wolf. It's more than just a line, but it's a philosophy of corruption disguised as heroism. It's a test of how far someone is willing to go in the name of protection. And it shows that sometimes the greatest danger to the sheep is not the wolf outside the fence, it's the wolf wearing the badge.